The Ducati Panigale V4 has been out here winning races and stealing girlfriends since 2018. But prior to the V4, the Panigale V2 had been the benchmark in the world of superbikes since its inception. The big twin Panigale was kind of the big deal. The first Panigale came to be in 2011 with the introduction of the Panigale 1199. The name actually being derived from the Borgo Panigale district in Bologna, Italy, where Ducati's headquarters are located. Say what you will about Ducati, but they've sure got that fierce hometown pride. The first Panigale replaced the iconic 1198 superbike, marking a significant departure from Ducati's traditional design philosophy and signifying the modern era. The 1199 Super Quattro engine, an 1198cc V-twin, produced 195 horsepower, which set a new standard for flagship superbikes at that time. In 2015, the 1299 Panigale debuted and featured an even larger 1285cc Super Quattro engine, which pumped out all the way to a significant 205 horsepower. 205 is pretty on the money for peak horsepower in today's world, so to be producing that kind of power 10 years ago in 2015 was pretty serious, and to be doing it out of a twin-cylinder engine was even more serious. The Panigale V4 era began in 2018 as Ducati's first mass-produced four-cylinder motorcycle. The V4 engine was inspired by the Ducati Desmo Sedici MotoGP bikes, featuring a 90-degree V4 configuration with desmodromic valves. The 1103cc engine produced 214 horsepower. The V4's chassis and aerodynamics were meticulously engineered for reduced drag and stability at high speeds. Ducati continued to evolve the Panigale, introducing the V4S and V4R variants, each pushing the boundaries further. The V4R, homologated for World Superbike racing, featured a 998cc engine to meet regulations, but delivered up to 234 eye-watering horsepower with a race exhaust. By 2025, the Panigale V4 had reached new standards. The current model is a bit polarizing in the looks department, featuring a very ostentatious aerodynamics with updated wings and bodywork, resembling some of the older Ducatis, but with a new modern flavor. The engine can now produce 240 horsepower when outfitted with the optional race kit, although its 209 horsepower when totally stock is nothing to scoff at. It's also rumored that the 2025 Panigale V4 is the first stock Panigale that doesn't blur the speedo or limit the bike at 180 odd miles an hour, and there might be some videos floating around of people showing an indicated 197 miles an hour on a stock Panigale V4. So I think it's certainly fair to say that the 2025 Panigale V4 is one of the fastest bikes of the modern era. Kawasaki H2 was first introduced in 2015, and it could be described as Kawasaki holding a middle finger up to the motorcycle industry at large. You said we couldn't turbo a bike. You said forced induction wasn't realistic. You thought the Busa would be king forever. Well, look at us now, Dad! I guess it's H2 lore that the Kawasaki heavy industries at large leveraged its expansive resources and expertise beyond the motorcycle division when it came to developing the H2. Kawasaki wanted to create a motorcycle that was as much a showcase of technological prowess as it was a fast-as-hell motorcycle. The project began with the simple goal of developing the fastest production motorcycle in the world. Kawasaki utilized the brain trust at Kawasaki Heavy Industries' aerospace division to aid in the development of the proprietary supercharger. The centrifugal supercharger was then added to a 998cc inline-4 engine, an innovation not just for Kawasaki but for the motorcycling industry at large. The supercharger, built entirely in-house, was designed specifically for use in motorcycles. That meant it delivered unparalleled power while maintaining a decent amount of reliability, much unlike the boosted Busas that came before it. The name H2 was a deliberate callback to Kawasaki's infamous 750 H2 Mach 4 from the 70s. But where the 1970s H2 was raw and untamed and frankly deadly, the modern version is a high-tech masterpiece. With 200 horsepower on tap in stock form, the H2 is crazy capable of high speeds already. But with basic bolt-on mods and enough of a runway, speeds of well into the 200s are not all unrealistic. The Kawasaki H2 started as a wacky science project and has since served a 10-year reign as one of the fastest motorcycles ever built, and certainly one of the fastest motorcycles of the 2010s. The MV Agusta F4 1000R 312 was unveiled in 2007. It stemmed from the ambition of MV Agusta's ability to reclaim its legacy as a producer of exotic, high-performance machines that could rival and surpass anything else in the world. Strangely, this motorcycle, being MV's most powerful of the time, came out of an era of strife and uncertainty as the brand underwent various ownership changes in just a few years. They must have had some sweet motivational posters in their headquarters that said something like, "All great changes are preceded by chaos." But anyways, in reference to the F4R312, the 312 in its name wasn't arbitrary. It was actually stood for the bike's top speed of 312 kilometers per hour, which converts to 194 miles per hour for the big-brained patriot hamburger eaters in the audience. At the time, this figure made it to the fastest production motorcycle into the world, a title steeped in prestige during an ongoing speed war of the early 2000s. The F41000R 312, or 312, whatever you want to say, was an evolution of the already celebrated F4 series, a line designed by esteemed ex-Ducatista Massimo Tamburini. The F4's stunning allure and meticulous attention to detail had already solidified its reputation as a rolling work of art, but the 312 proved that it had the mechanical chops to back up the design. It wanted to show that the F4 was more than just a pretty face. At the heart of the F41000R 312 was a 998cc inline-4 engine with radial valves, a hallmark of MV Agusta's engineering prowess. The engine produced 183 horsepower at 12,400 RPM, allowing the bike to achieve its record-breaking speed. Every component was meticulously refined to extract maximum performance, including upgraded pistons, a revised cylinder head, and new exhaust systems. And when it debuted, the F41000R 312 became an instant sensation. Motorcycle enthusiasts and critics alike were enamored by its combination of Italian beauty, crazy speed, and advanced tech. It was a bike that symbolized MV's racing pedigree combined with their look towards the future. By setting a new standard of excellence for the company, the F4R 312 also became the fastest motorcycle of the 2000s. We're now at the point of the video where we must honor the Suzuki Hayabusa. If we're running through this list by decades, that brings us to the 90s, and there's no other motorcycle that evokes the 90s open-class sport bike like the Busa. The Super Blackbird comes close, but the Busa got the Guinness Book of World Records spot, so that pretty much clinched it as the fastest bike for eternity. The Hayabusa was introduced in 1999, and not much different from the H2 in 2015, it was built around the singular mission to create the fastest production motorcycle the world had ever seen. At the time, Kawasaki's Ninja ZX11 had held the crown for nearly a decade, and Suzuki and Honda were both looking to steal the throne. The GSX 1300R project was led by Suzuki engineer Koji Yoshiura. His goal was not only to break the speed records, but to design a motorcycle that would stand in part for both performance and identity. Little did he know he'd be creating the most meme-worthy motorcycle the world has ever known, and an absolute cult classic. The Hayabusa was powered by a 1299cc inline-4 engine that creates an astonishingly smooth power band combined with a ton of low-down torquey grunt thanks to the massive girth of the engine and a relatively low compression ratio. The Busa really is kind of like the there is no replacement for displacement mentality. It's just big, fast, and just goes like stink. When first released in 1999, it was producing 173 ponies, which was pretty impressive for the time. The Hayabusa could go from 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds and reach a top speed of 194 miles per hour, making it the fastest production motorcycle of its time. But the Hayabusa wasn't just about engine power. Its aerodynamic design was carefully sculpted to minimize drag at high velocities, and that's why it could go so fast. The unconventional styling, round, sleek, and bulbous, was almost alien, and its looks have been hotly debated for the last 25 years, but it was undeniably functional, ensuring stability and efficiency at speeds that no other production bike could match. If you've never ridden a Busa, basically when you ride at 120 miles an hour, it feels like 60. It is the most stable high-speed motorcycle I've ever ridden, even when I slapped a turbo on mine. When the Busa debuted, it upset the standards of motorcycling industries. The Busa's dominance in the speed wars was so absolute that it effectively ended them. By 2000, the manufacturers had entered a gentleman's agreement to cap top speeds at 186 miles per hour, cementing the Busa as the final word in unregulated motorcycle speed and securing its top spot as the fastest motorcycle of the 1990s. All right, this is a special giveaway. This is a Triumph Street Triple 765 RS, and it's available over on yammynoob.co. Sign up as a member for your best chance to win. You'll rack up your entries, join the Discord server. It is a ton of fun. You'll get discounts on merch and access to our amazing newsletter. You'll also get the ability to submit your bikes to me for the live stream. If you've ever wondered, where do I get all these bikes for the live stream and who are all these people? Well, they're from the Discord server. So if you want to join on a deeper level and get access to win some amazing motorcycles, go to yammynoob.co and don't delay. Papa Yam's giving away 54 motorcycles in his time doing this on YouTube. That's a ridiculous amount of bikes. The Yamaha FZR1000 was introduced in 1987, and it was a groundbreaking machine that marked a new era for Japanese superbikes. Things were moving quickly at this time, and it's crazy to think about how much advancements happened in just 10 years. Bikes went from air-cooled cradle frame UJMs to liquid-cooled perimeter frame superbikes in the blink of an eye, and the Yamaha FZR1000 was a major stepping stone in that progression. This bike was known as the Genesis in its early years, and was Yamaha's ambitious effort to pioneer the aforementioned changes happening in the superbike category. The Genesis was meant to be the next evolution in the world of design and engineering, and by the time it evolved into the legendary X-Up model, it was considered one of the most advanced and best handling superbikes of its time. The FZR1000 was powered by a revolutionary 989cc inline-4 engine, featuring Yamaha's Genesis technology with 5 valves per cylinder. This setup, combined with liquid cooling and a sophisticated design, allowed the engine to rev higher and breathe better, delivering 125 horsepower in the original model and climbing to 145 horsepower later in the X-Up iteration. The FZR's top speed exceeded 160 miles an hour, making one of the fastest motorcycles on the road in the late 1980s. While its engine was great to begin with, the FZR1000 was pushed further with the introduction of Yamaha's X-Up system. This technology used a servo-controlled valve in the exhaust to optimize back pressure across the rev range, dramatically improving torque and power delivery. The X-Up system gave the FZR1000 a noticeable advantage over its competitors. This bike was also a milestone of chassis engineering, with its aluminum delta box frame offering incredible stiffness and precise handling. It really paved the way for Yamaha's future efforts like the R6 and the R1. The FZR1000 arrived, it set new benchmarks for performance motorcycles. The bike's dominance was such that it earned the title of Cycle World magazine's Bike of the Decade for the 1980s. Alright, now we're getting into some weird stuff, and I'm excited. The Laverda Jota was introduced in 1976. This bike may be lesser known to the modern rider whose mental acuity has atrophied from years of consuming short-form content, but it was actually the crown jewel of Italian motorcycle engineering at one time. The Jota was released during a simpler era when speed and power reigned supreme, but there were actually advancements to be made. Barring EPA and NHTSA regulations, if modern motorcycles get any faster, they're going to take flight. Well, I guess you need lift and wings to do that, but with the way wings are going, we're eventually going to take flight on these bikes anyways. A MotoGP bike today makes like 300 horsepower and weighs about 350 pounds. Where else is there really to go? I mean, the tires are now the limiting factor. I'm sure they're going to develop some sort of glue that just sticks to the ground. I imagine these older generations were generally exciting, as you could see tangible improvements and advancements to motorcycle year after year. But anyways, the Jota was produced by the small but ambitious Laverda team in Braganza, Italy. This bike was designed to challenge the dominance of British and Japanese machines in the burgeoning superbike market. Laverda's 1000cc triple-cylinder engine was originally developed for their 3C model. And while the 3C was reliable and smooth, it was more of a sport touring-style bike than an outright performance machine. The Slater brothers, Laverda's UK importers and key players in the Jota's creation, saw untapped potential in the 3C platform and pushed for a more aggressive version that could dominate the roads and racetracks alike. The Jota was born from this collaboration, featuring a tuned version of the 981cc triple. Using high compression pistons, hotter cams, and an improved exhaust, the Jota produced an impressive 90 horsepower. This was enough to push it past 140 miles an hour, making it one of the fastest motorcycles of the 1970s. In an era when braking 120 miles per hour on a street bike was a feat, the Jota's top speed was nothing short of impressive. The Triumph Trident and BSA Rocket 3 were both introduced in 1968. These motorcycles were the result of a shared project between Triumph and sister company BSA and were intended to be the first British superbikes. In the early 60s, Japanese manufacturers like Honda began to revolutionize the market with technically advanced, reliable, and affordable motorcycles. In response, the British industry sought to develop a machine that could compete on performance and sophistication. The result was a 740cc air-cooled inline triple producing 58 horsepower and capable of reaching a speed of 120 miles an hour. The Trident and Rocket 3 offered smooth power delivery and a throaty exhaust note that distinguished them from simpler twins dominating the market. The 3-cylinder engine was a technical triumph. Get it? It was designed to be both fast and robust while retaining the character riders loved about British bikes. Despite their shared engine, the Triumph Trident and BSA Rocket 3 differed in appearance and detail. The Trident featured the classic Triumph design style that was known for, while the Rocket 3 showcased more of an angular, futuristic design. Despite these two bikes being major advancements for the British motorcycle industry, they were a little too late. The Honda CB750, with its 4-cylinder engine, electric start at an affordable price, launched in 1969 and totally stole the spotlight. While the Trident and Rocket 3 were faster and arguably more characterful, they couldn't compete with the Honda's value or technological polish. Still, the Trident and Rocket 3 became iconic in their own right, particularly in racing. These bikes are not just artifacts of a bygone time. Their names both live on in modern machines from Triumph, the 660 and the Rocket 3. Each of those bikes preserve the names of these two fastest motorcycles of the 1960s. Fact: it took humanity longer to go from bronze swords to steel swords than from steel swords to nuclear weapons. Talk about exponential. Goodbye.
All right, everybody, our time is up here on this video. I hope you had fun. If you want to keep the fun going, become a member on Yamity.co. You can join the Discord server, ask me questions, hang out with me, submit stuff for the live stream, and best of all, get entered to win our amazing giveaway bikes. This Triumph Street Triple 765 is our newest giveaway bike. Make sure you get entered to win, because do you want to miss this? I wouldn't want to miss. I want to keep this bike, honestly, but I can't. I have to give it away to somebody, so why not make it you?